Hey everyone, it's That Math Magician, and on this video, we're going to continue our discussion on angle relationships, and we're going to add on to our list for our fourth angle relationship. Just for a recap, the last two videos, we've introduced complementary angles, supplementary angles, and in our last video, we saw vertical angles. In this video, we're also now going to introduce our fourth angle relationship, which we're going to call corresponding angles. So let's go ahead and jump into corresponding angles. Now, corresponding angles occur when we have two parallel lines that are being intersected by a third line. Let's go ahead and draw that out so we can see. I'm going to go ahead and get my ruler out so I can make sure that these lines are straight. We're going to have two parallel lines here. And these lines are going to be cut right down. It doesn't matter what the angle is, but they're being cut down here by a third line that we're going to call the transversal line. So let's go ahead and take a second to get this diagram up. We know that the blue lines are parallel, and this green line is what we call a transversal line. A transversal line is a line that's going to be intersecting these two blue parallel lines. Alrighty, now when we have this transversal line cutting through these parallel lines, we end up with two sets of four angles, up here at the top, up here down on the bottom. Now, let me explain to you what corresponding angles are. I'll give you the definition and then we'll see how they apply on this diagram. So let's go ahead and write out our definition. Corresponding angles, okay? They are angles in the same position at two different intersections of the transversal. So let's take a look now at our diagram and see how these corresponding angles show up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write in letters for all of these angles inside this diagram so we can talk about how these angles work. Let's zoom in. Let's say I want to shade in A, and I'll shade in A with my yellow highlighter. Hopefully we can see that if I just focus in on the top here, that A and D are going to be equal. In our last video, we talked about vertical angles. Right here, I have a set of vertical angles, two lines intersecting where the opposite angles are equal. So A and D are vertical angles, they are equal. I'm going to shade them both with a yellow highlighter. I'm now also going to shade in the other two remaining angles there because they are also vertical angles and they also equal to each other. Now, hopefully we can recall that looking here at A and B are supplementary, they're forming a straight line, they add to 180, and C and D are also supplementary, they're adding to 180. Just want to make sure we're remembering that. Now, what corresponding angle says is that angles in the same position at two different intersections of the transversal, I forgot to add the last bit to that definition, but they are equal. So talking about that, we're looking here at the angle A. I'll highlight that in our color so we can keep track. If I'm talking about the corresponding angle to A, I'm talking about an angle that's in the same position as A. Can we see that A is in the top left spot of these 4 angles, right? The top left spot here. That is one of the intersections. As I move down my transversal, I end up at my other set of intersection. And do we see that since A is in the top left spot, E here is also in the top left spot. So we could say that A and E, they are corresponding. They are in the same position, but at 2 different intersections of the transversal line, and they are equal. That is what corresponding angles mean. Same position, but different intersection. Let's go ahead and do the other ones. We see that angle D down here. That angle is in the bottom right position. So that angle is going to correspond with the angle in the bottom right position. So we would say that D and H are corresponding and they are equal. Okay, all 4 of these angles there have the same value. Now let's do our last set. We're gonna have angle B at the top and angle C at the top. B here is in the top right position. The angle in the top right position down here is angle F. So those 2 angles are corresponding. They are equal to each other. Last but not least, C is down here in the bottom left. G is down here in the bottom left. So G and C are equal. They are corresponding. Whoops. So that is what corresponding angles are. They are, again, angles in the same position, but just in different intersections. Corresponding angles are always equal to each other. If, here's the big if, the 2 lines are parallel. If those lines were not parallel, then we would not be able to say that they are equal and corresponding. Okay, this only applies when you have 2 parallel lines. All right, guys, it's That Math Magician, and I'll see you next time.